All right, first things first. How does AI learn? Well, think of it like this. Imagine showing a child thousands of pictures of cats and dogs. At first, they have no idea what they're looking at, but over time, they start noticing patterns, tails, ears, fur textures. Eventually, they don't need you to say, "That's a dog." They just know. AI works almost the same way, but on a much bigger scale. It's fed massive amounts of data, text, images, sounds, videos, and through that, it starts to recognize patterns. It doesn't understand what a cat is, but it sees that certain features often appear together, and it learns, when I see this combination, it's probably a cat. And that brings us to the next part. What happens once it receives information? Inside an AI model, every prediction is about probability. It's not thinking, this is the best answer. It's thinking, out of 1,000,000 possible next words, this one has a 72% chance of being correct. And it's not just picking the top option. It's constantly balancing probabilities, weighing context, and adjusting based on what's already been said. Think of it like driving with a GPS. At every intersection, the system doesn't decide where to go. It calculates all possible routes, weighs traffic, distance, and time, then picks the one with the highest probability of being fastest. AI works the same way, except instead of roads, it's navigating ideas. And that brings up a deeper question. How does this machine-like logic compare to the way we think? Here's why this is worth your time. Right now, AI is writing code, diagnosing diseases, designing buildings, even composing music, things we once believed only humans could do. But if you don't understand how it's thinking, you're missing the deeper picture. Because AI doesn't solve problems the way your brain does. It doesn't sit there and reason. It doesn't feel emotion. Instead, it sees the world as patterns, billions and billions of them, and makes decisions purely on probability. And that's both its greatest strength and its biggest limitation. So let's peel back the layers and see how this digital brain really works, starting with the basics. Here's where things get fascinating. When you give AI an input, let's say you ask, "Write me a business plan," it doesn't think about the request the way you would. Instead, it breaks the input into tiny chunks called tokens, pieces of words, and starts searching through everything it's ever seen to predict what should come next. It's like an ultra-advanced version of autocomplete. You type "once upon a," and your phone suggests time. AI does that too, except it's doing it billions of times per second, weighing millions of possibilities, and choosing the most statistically likely next word. In other words, it's not answering the question, it's predicting the next part of a pattern. And when it strings enough of those predictions together, we call that a response. But here's where it gets even more interesting. How does it decide which prediction is the right one? Here's a question that might blow your mind. Does AI actually think? Like, does it understand what it's saying? Does it form ideas the way we do? Or is it all just an incredibly clever illusion? Well, the truth is, AI doesn't think at all the way humans do. It doesn't know things. It doesn't believe things. Instead, it predicts, it guesses, it calculates the most likely next step with breathtaking speed and precision. And once you understand how that works, you'll never look at AI the same way again. Here's where the differences really show. Humans don't just process information, we feel it. We rely on emotion, intuition, and experience. We make decisions based on memories, beliefs, even gut feelings. AI? None of that exists. It doesn't feel inspired. It doesn't get bored. It doesn't form opinions. It just crunches numbers, unimaginably fast, and produces what's most statistically likely to be correct. And while that makes it incredibly powerful, faster, more consistent, and capable of analyzing way more data than we ever could, it also means it lacks the spark of creativity and empathy that makes human thinking special. But when you combine our intuition with its logic, that's where things get really exciting. And nowhere is that more obvious than in how AI is already shaping the world around us. Let's bring this down to earth. When Netflix recommends a movie, it's not understanding your taste. It's analyzing patterns of what you and millions of others watched and predicting what you're most likely to click next. When ChatGPT writes an email, it's not thinking about grammar, it's predicting the next most probable word over and over again until a complete sentence appears. When Midjourney generates art, it's not imagining like an artist, it's predicting which pixels should go where based on millions of images it's seen before. And yet, the results can feel almost magical, because even though AI isn't truly thinking, the patterns it builds are so complex, so refined, that they often look like intelligence. And that brings us to one final, powerful thought. Here's the big takeaway. AI doesn't think like us, and that's exactly why it's so powerful. It doesn't dream, it doesn't feel, it doesn't know, but it does see patterns we can't see, and it uses them to make decisions with superhuman speed and accuracy. The real magic happens when we stop fearing those differences and start working with them, because when human creativity and AI prediction come together, the possibilities are limitless. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to understand AI on a deeper level, make sure to hit subscribe and ring the bell, because every week we explore the most powerful ideas shaping our future. And trust me, the next video will change the way you think about intelligence itself.